Dhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Guru Dev ki Jai Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Shri Rupa Nugogoriya Guru Varga ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhattadas Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय सर्व अभिष्ट विदग्ध गिरिराज महाराज की जय श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जय श्री यमुना देवी कंग देवी की जय श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय श्री भक्ति देवी की जय श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय जय श्री मोहिनी अकादशी तिथि की जय तिथि पालन करी भक्त वृंद की जय जय श्री Shri Dainika Nadīyā Prakāṣa ki Jai. All the periodicals of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, and all of his followers ki Jai. Jai, the editor of Dainika Nadīyā Prakāṣa and writer, main writer and everything for Dainika Nadīyā Prakāṣa, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Oh, and the auspicious departure in Sri Vrindavan Dham on Mohini Akadashi of Acharya Ratna Maharaj ki Jai, just maybe an hour ago or something like that. Jai, Ananta Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. I think it's better with these Dainika Nadīyā Prakāṣa sessions if we begin with just a short Jaidvani. I'll do a very short Jaidvani and then we can start. So before I say anything else, I'll start with that. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Tividito Gaudiya Gurvanvaye Bhato Bhanuriva Prabhata Gagane Yogora Sankirtanaya Maya Varati Mingilo Daragatan Udritya Jivan Niman Krishna Prema Sudabdi Gahana Sukham Pradat Prabhung Tang Bhaje Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Who is that
Hare.
Mangalacharan by?
Oh, that one verse is by Srila Bhakti Rakshakshira Goswami Maharaj. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing before we start, I just want to mention about, I mentioned briefly, but yeah, Shripad Acharya Ratna Prabhu, who he's a disciple of Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, but also took shelter of my Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I haven't spent that much time with him, but all the time that I did spend with him, all the interactions I've had with him, all the times I've heard him give class and everything, I could tell from his behavior, he was just completely as sincere, simple, straightforward, honest, non-duplicitous, same on the inside, same on the outside, and very dedicated to he had a very big love of distributing books. He loved Srila Gurudev's books and was always out, like that was one of the things that like really stood out to me, is his love for the books and getting the books into everybody's hands, like in a very generous way. Yeah, I just got the news that he passed away this morning, not so long ago, but in Vrindavan Dham on Mohini Ekadashi with devotees. So he was somebody who's very, like, also another quality of his that I saw is that he was non-envious and he wouldn't criticize. And really, for us, those are the main, everything is taken care of if we can just be simple, not duplicitous, and not criticize and serve. Then we have that's all. That's all. Srila Gurudev takes care of the rest. That's all we need to worry about. So I think he has a very bright destination in his next life. He'll be continuing for sure. He'll be continuing his service to his Gurudevs, and yeah, Acharya Ratna Prabhu ki jai. Oh, and I'll just show you. And he just recently, like, he took sannyas just a little bit before. I don't know, was it like a couple years before, 3 years before? I'll show you pictures of him just so you can see. I was looking on the internet for a long time this morning. I couldn't find that much. All I could find were, because he wasn't online ever, but I just found pictures of his sannyas. So here, I'll just open them up. Here. Okay, so this is Acharya Ratna Prabhu right there. It's British. But yeah, I mean, he has a whole family, he has children and everything. And I think it's really auspicious at the end of his life, like before, because he was totally healthy and everything. He's not that old. But I think it's very nice that he took sannyas so that he can really prepare himself for giving up. That's him and Padmanabha Maharaj, right, after he took sannyas. And there's one more picture. That's him getting his danda from Gopananda Ban Maharaj. So yeah, that's Acharya Ratna Prabhu. All right.
I remember when he would come into the bookshop when we were living there, and
yes,
he was always so jolly and friendly and happy, and stay and chat for a good 20 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, he had like a real genuine love for the books. Like it's very rare. I don't see people who really love the books that much and who really love making sure the books get spread around. Even me, like I like reading the books, I like helping serving the books, but when it comes to distributing them and I don't have that kind of, not even a drop of the kind of like enthusiasm that he has. So yeah. All right, so now we are beginning our, what is it? Our 7th session of Dainika Nadīyā Prakāśa. I'm going to hand it over to Śrīvāsa. Yeah. Here you can. Oops. Yeah, there. Oh, and just one thing, all these issues that we're reading of Dainika Nadīyā Prakāśa are all available on nadiyaprakash.com. And Prakāsh is spelled Prakash. nadiyaprakash.com. All right.
I think I still can't share my screen.
Oops, that was my fault. I forgot to. There, now you can.
So this is from March 15th. 1928. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Jayataha, 2nd of Chaitra, Thursday, 1334, March 15th, 1928. Paraśamaṇi. We have all heard of a supremely desirable object called a Paraśamaṇi, touchstone, but till this day, no one can say they have actually seen one. We have heard the names of many gems like Chandrakanta, moonstone, Suryakanta, sunstone, Nilakanta, sapphire, Ayaskanta, magnetite, Vaidurya, chrysoberyl, cat's eye, the Kohinoor, etc. And we also know that these gems are in the possession of certain very affluent people. But the Paraśamaṇi, whose name we have all heard, whether we are wealthy, poor, scholars, fools, big, small, young, or old, whenever we even talk about this gem in literature, in stories and legends, we don't even know where one might be. What to speak of poor folk like ourselves having such a gem? We have heard neither explicit nor secretive word of such a gem being possessed by even rich people, even kings, and even the richest emperors in the world, with all their carefully guarded secret vaults full of jewels. Has the existence of this object been turned into mere words? Has the tireless research of archaeologists over the course of centuries all over the earth and its oceans not yielded anything? We have heard in a song, Desha hita brata e Paraśamaṇi, Parashibe jare barek jakhoni, Raj bhai ar kara bhai tar, Guchibe tahari takhoni jeno. If one who seeks the welfare of his country touches this touchstone just once, he will lose all fear of kings and prisons. So, is the Paraśamaṇi just some imaginary object that poets and writers impose on certain special qualities, mindsets, or persons whenever they please? I have approached numerous accomplished editors, historians, archaeologists, royal jewelers, and even famed spies who are renowned to accomplish the impossible. But to date, no one has been able to give me any significant clue or shed any light on this matter. In the end, just when I was utterly hopeless, like the frustrated jackal deciding the grapes he can't reach are sour, and I had decided this fabled object was false, like a flower in the sky, a dream in the night, and had vowed to devote my efforts to some other research that would yield results more expediently. Suddenly, from a trusted source, I heard a wonderful story derived from an ancient tradition. I was so relieved by hearing it that I do not want to keep it to myself. Udara charitanantu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. Those who are of liberal character see the world as one family. Remembering this noble statement, I wish to share this with you. I hope you will not dislike it. In Bengal, in the district of Bardhaman, in the village of Mankar, a poor Brahmin by the name of Sri Jivan Mishra lived. After much struggle, he was not able to make ends meet. So finally, he began worshipping the god of gods, Ashutosh, Shiv, the easily satisfied one. For 3 long days and nights, he went without eating or sleeping. When due to exhaustion, he finally fell asleep momentarily. Shriman Mahadev appeared before him in his dream and asked him, "What do you want?" The Brahmin, weeping and weeping, folded his hands and begged Shiva to kindly deliver him forever from the sorrows of poverty. Bholanath, who was an ocean of compassion and full of sympathy for the sorrows of the jivas, was overwhelmed with boundless mercy for the Brahmin. He ordered him to go to the land of Braj, which is full of Chintamani gems, and told him that if he approached Sri Sanatana Goswami, all his desires would be fulfilled. Cliffhanger.
That's it's not very common that we get cliffhangers like that in our scriptures. That's really neat. Well, I guess
It's
we'll
a
have
good,
to like give a recap before the next session, like in the next session now.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd never heard the name of the village where he was from and his name. We would just hear like some guy showed up in Vrindavan
Yeah.
asking from Sanatana Goswami.
Yeah.
It gives the story a little more credibility.
Yes.
So next is Citraketu.
I wish there
So,
was author names. That would be, I'm always so curious, like, what is,
yeah,
anyways. But that, I guess that time, like, especially they didn't want to take any credit for anything. They didn't want any pratishtha, I guess. And like, it's all just, who wrote it wasn't
I'm like
important.
occasionally I'm seeing some titles. Like there's one time Param Gurudev's name shows up. One time Atindra Nath Prabhu, I think that was the Gaudiya Kantahar compiler.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, his name shows up on one article. Some stuff.
Because like what I'm curious is if because this is a daily magazine, right? And so is there somebody writing like a full article every single day, or would they like have like, okay, on Fridays you write this article, and like I'm just curious also. Well, no, this one would have to be, yeah, I'm just curious how like how their the flow.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure. Interesting. Definitely some stuff is taken from Gaudiya.
Mhm.
Or it appeared here first and Gaudiya took it, actually. Anyways.
Uh,
Citraketu. In a previous age, there was a king named Citraketu. He had many wives, but was childless. So he was spending his days always engrossed in a deep depression. In the absence of children, his unrivaled opulence, his youth, physical beauty, erudition, nothing satisfied him. As fate would have it, one day, the great sage Angira arrived at Citraketu's residence. The king extended the customary courteous greetings to the great sage, who was pleased with the king's behavior and delightedly took a seat. And the king too sat near the great sage. Maharshi Angira saw that the king was sad, as he had morosely sat down on the ground next to him. He said, "Oh, king, why am I seeing you so depressed like this? Is everything okay? Is there some trouble in the kingdom? Oh, king, you are the sovereign emperor of the world, but it looks like some lacking has afflicted you. Tell me plainly, what is on your mind?" Hearing the great sage's words, the king said, "O best of sages, you are omniscient. Because of the great austerities you have performed, there is nothing that is unknown to you. But since you have instructed me to do so, I will reveal my heart to you. O Brahman, just as a person afflicted by thirst cannot find any pleasure in sandalwood and other pleasing items, for a person who is bereft of children, all this matchless opulence is not satisfying. This is my situation. I cannot find any peace of mind because I do not have a son. O supremely worshipful one, tell me how I can obtain a son and be saved from the hell called Put, along with my forefathers." When Maharshi Angira heard the king's words, he took it upon himself to conduct the Twashtra Yaga ceremony and gave the remnants of the sacrifice to Citraketu's eldest wife, Kritadyuti, and said, "O king, you will have a son who will be the source of both joy and sorrow for you. Just as Kritika bore the seed of Mahadev and became pregnant with Kartikeya, once Kritadyuti had partaken of the remnants of the sacrifice, she got pregnant from Citraketu. When the pregnancy was full term, Kritadyuti gave birth to a son. King Citraketu was overjoyed when he heard the news of his son's birth. He had his son bathed, decorated with special ornaments, and had the Brahmanas recite sacred blessings for the young boy, and thus performed the Jat Karma, cutting of the umbilical cord. Thereafter, like a cloud showering rain freely upon all, King Citraketu distributed profuse amounts of wealth to invoke the glory, wealth, and longevity of his son. Just as a person who was once very poor and had to struggle very hard to obtain some wealth grows more and more attached to that wealth with each passing day, his attachment to his son began to grow with each day. When his other wives saw that he was more affectionate to Kritaduti because she had given birth to a son, they became very jealous. Their hearts began burning to have that sort of treasure of a child that Kritaduti had. Their jealousy of Kritaduti got to the point that they began conspiring to poison Kritaduti's son and kill him. One day, Kritaduti was busy with some household activities in her dwelling when her co-wives got Kritaduti's son to drink some poisoned milk. Neither Kritaduti nor anyone else in the household knew what had happened. They thought the child was sleeping and kept preoccupied inside the house. Some time passed in this way, and finally, Kritaduti called her maidservant and said, "My baby has been sleeping for quite a while. Wake him up and bring him to me." The maidservant approached the child and saw that he was dead. So she started wailing loudly. Hearing her crying, Kritaduti came running and saw that her son had fallen into the jaws of death. She began wailing piteously. King Citraketu heard what had happened and became utterly overwhelmed, beginning to lament pitifully. At this moment, Maharshi Angira arrived there with Param Bhagavat Devarshi Narad. Seeing Citraketu overcome with grief, he said, "O king, the person you are grieving for, who is he to you? Who are you to him? If you say he is my son and I am his father, then I ask, did you not have this relationship of father and son before? Do you have it now? Will you have it after this? Look, this whole world is fleeting. We have no eternal connection with this place. We ought not to lament for that which we have no eternal, for that with which we have no eternal connection." After that, Maharshi Angira said, "O king, when I came to your home previously, I would have imparted this supreme knowledge unto you. But when I saw how attached you were to having a child, I gave you a child, not this knowledge. Now you are experiencing the sorrow that many parents feel. Those who are attached to wealth, followers, wife, children, family, etc., only end up in sorrow like this. This is because all these things are not eternal. What else, besides sorrow, can be the result of attachment to temporary things? Therefore, relinquish your grief and delusion surrounding your attachment to fleeting things, and reflect on the truth of the soul. Who are you? Where have you come from? Where will you go in the future? And why is grief and delusion overwhelming you like this?" Saying this, Maharshi Angira addressed Citraketu's dead son. "O soul, look upon your mother and father who grieve for you." In response, the dead boy said, "I am a soul. I am not under the sway of birth, death, grief, delusions, etc. But due to the results of my actions, I have been roaming through many species of life since time immemorial. Depending on my karma, I also have to endure grief, delusion, etc. Since I am constitutionally free from birth and death, however, I have no mother or father. I am so-and-so's son, I am so-and-so's father. This false ego of the jiva is due to Maya. This ego is the root of all sorrow." Hearing the word of truth from the mouth of his dead son, Citraketu gave up his grief and delusion and, as per the instructions of Devarshi Narad, relinquished all attachments and began to perform Bhagavat Bhajan. Readers, please do not dismiss this story as an ancient fable. The living entity gains supreme knowledge of the truth from this story, as well as liberation. Sriman Mahaprabhu revealed this truth 400 years ago through the dead son of Param Bhagavat Śrīvāsa Pandit, thereby imparting the supreme truth to the jivas afflicted by Kali. Jiv Krishnadas e Vishwas, Korleto ar Dukhanai. If one believes the soul is a servant of Krishna, there is no more sorrow. Always keep this instruction of Sriman Mahaprabhu in mind. Grief, delusion, etc. will fear even coming near you. Interesting, we read that on the day of Vaishnava's departed.
Yeah, very relevant.
So next is Falgu o Yukta Vairagya, fake and true renunciation. The foremost scholar of Nyaya throughout Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa during his time, someone Sriman Mahaprabhu revered as Brihaspati himself, that highly respected resident of Purushottam Kshetra, Shri Vasudev Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Mahashaya, became somewhat acquainted with Sriman Mahaprabhu's tattva and, with great trepidation and utmost surrender, secretly sent, via the hands of Srila Thakura Jagadananda, 2 gem-like verses as gifts to offer at the feet of Sri Gaur Sundar. The first of those verses is as follows. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartameka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripambudhiryas Tamaham Prapadye. In other words, in order to teach renunciation, knowledge, and his own bhakti yoga, the ocean of mercy, the one and only primeval person, has manifested in the form of Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I offer myself at his feet. One of the preceding gurus of the current Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu, has written in the sacred text of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhur Bhakta Ganera Vairagya Pradhan, Jaha Dekhi Pritahan Gaura Bhagavan. Mahaprabhu's devotees are predominantly distinguished by Vairagya, renunciation, seeing which Lord Gaura is pleased. From all these statements, we can understand that withdrawing from all the enjoyable substances on the face of the earth, which is a place where people are mostly focused on enjoyment, and adopting the path of renunciation or vairagya is the primary means of attaining shreya, higher fulfillment. The direct incarnation of Shankar, Acharya Shankar, and other teachers of the world wrote texts like Moha Mudgara, Vairagya Shatak, etc., to instruct indulgent human beings who have fallen into the stool pit of sense gratification to relinquish attachment to sense enjoyment and become established in the dharma of renunciation. What to speak of others, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Shri Gaur Sundar, who is none other than the son of the king of Braj, appeared in this world to teach people renunciation. The fact that the main characteristic of Sriman Mahaprabhu's devotees is renunciation is something Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu and other authors of Vaishnava texts have repeatedly declared. The sages and seers of old were also refulgent examples of renunciation, detached from all manner of sense gratification, constantly practicing austerities, thinking of the welfare of all, or immersed in discussing Bhagavan, living in the dense forests or secluded mountain caves, subsisting on fruits, roots, and water, or begging alms. From this, we inattentive and ignorant human beings can understand that such persons are saintly. However, today we see a rather well-educated group of a different sort that aspires to identify as followers of Sriman Mahaprabhu. They refrain from fish, meat, pan, tobacco, tea, cigars, cards, dice, carnivals, theaters, and various other ordinary objects of enjoyment, perhaps just in order to kick dust in the eyes of people of meager intelligence, for they freely, without inhibition, enjoy things like rail travel, steamship transport, electric fans, lights, motor vehicles, cycles, printing presses, newspapers, mutts, mandirs, brick buildings, shirts, shoes, watches, umbrellas, telegraph communications, telephones, sandesh, malpura, rabari, etc., in the name of serving Hari. Madhukar just loves this.
They had a very much higher standard at that time, I think.
Yeah, I think we're guilty of playing cards, but I think they mean gambling. And yeah, theaters.
I'm talking
Carnival.
about all these things, like enjoying electric fans and like
Oh,
motor
right, yes.
vehicles.
Māyāpura. What kind of Vaishnavism
And
is this?
shirts.
And shirts, yeah, shirts. Is this renunciation or something else? How is Gaur Bhagavan to be pleased with all this? These sorts of questions are heard here and there from short-sighted, imprudent, okay, I thought it was impudent, neophyte devotees, or from the Bhogavadi Sampradaya, sense enjoyers, who adhere to their own mental machinations and think their outdated lack of understanding is somehow dharma. In order to keep us mentally governed Bhogavadis free from Vaishnava parad, the preacher of the religion of pure devotion, Śrī Rupa Goswami Pad, has instructed us with a beautiful definition of what Vairagya is in his book, Shri Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If we fall at the feet of Srila Goswami Pad and want to know the real truth regarding this subject, then by his grace, we can come to know that there are two types of Vairagya: Phalgu Vairagya, phony renunciation, and Yukta Vairagya, holistic renunciation. Srimad Bhagavatam speaks of three types of renunciation: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Of these, Rajas and Tamas renunciation fall into the category of Phalgu Vairagya. Their symptoms are described as follows. Niyatasya tu sannyasa karamano nopapadyate mohat tasya parityagas tamasa parikirtita. The gist of this is that it is not possible to renounce one's eternal duties. Those who renounce their eternal duties engage in tamas renunciation. Dukkham ityeva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat tajat sakritta rajasam tyagam naiva tyaga phalam bhavet. No, so slow. The gist of this is that those who give up their eternal duties out of fear, because they know such duties are difficult, engage in rajas renunciation. Such people do not reap the fruits of renunciation. This kind of renunciation is phalgu, or trivial and detestable. Real renunciation is defined in Sri Bhagavan's own words in Srimad Bhagavad Gita as follows. Nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya asheshata yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitit abhidhiyate. In other words, for the embodied living entity, it is impossible to give up all action entirely. One who has given up the fruits of action is worthy of being known as a true renunciate. To be continued. So, since you read the whole series last time, I'm just taking over this time.
Thanks.
Śrī Māyāpura Pūrṇa-candrodaya. Continued from last issue. One night, in the home of Chandrasekhar Acharya Ratna, Mahaprabhu personally donned the garb of Rukmini and had Sri Advaita, Sri Nityananda, Śrīvāsa, Sri Haridas, and others don specific roles and costumes and orchestrated a wondrous pastime. It was in this Chandrasekhar Bhavan that one of the first dramas was enacted in Bengal by Mahaprabhu himself. At present, the main center for the preaching of pure Sanatan Dharma all over the world, the sovereign Mutt, Sri Chaitanya Mutt, has been established at this very Chandrasekhar Bhavan. One day, as Mahaprabhu's dancing concluded, one Brahmin lady touched the Lord's feet. Mahaprabhu, who was playing the role of a teacher of the world, jumped into the Ganga in response to this, as a way of cautioning the Prakrita Sahajiyas. Nityananda, Haridas, and other devotees lifted Mahaprabhu out of the Ganga. One day, Sri Gaur Sundar, the personified form of separation, was sitting in his home, his heart overwhelmed with separation in the mood of the gopis, and was chanting Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. One miscreant student chanced upon him at this time and said, "Why are you not chanting Krishna's name and uselessly chanting Gopi, Gopi, calling out to some ladies?" When the Lord heard this, still in the mood of the gopis, he began expressing anger toward Krishna and projecting fault unto Krishna. When the unfortunate student could not understand the purport of his words, the Lord, who was in the mood of the gopis, thought the student was taking Krishna's side. So he became even more enraged, picked up a stick, and charged the student, intending to hit him. The student fled. Hearing about this, various so-called brahmanas, who were engrossed in mundane ritual tradition and were averse to Hari, ignorantly began to conspire of a way to beat Mahaprabhu. In order to save Navadip's teachers, students, religious zealots, karmis, ascetics, and other unfortunate persons from the offense of malice towards Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, Mahaprabhu then conceived a desire to accept the renounced station of a guru, who in the eyes of mundane society occupies a higher social status. In other words, if he displayed a pastime of taking sannyas, then everyone would offer their respects to him, because a sannyasi earns the honor of all. In this way, it would not be possible for the brahmanas who were criticizing him. Sorry, I was assuming that I had missed the key words of that sentence. It would be possible for the brahmanas who were criticizing him to be enlightened. With this idea in mind, Mahaprabhu, toward the end of his 24th year, during the waxing fortnight of Magh, the end of the night of the winter solstice day, jumped in the Ganga at Nidaya Ghat and swam to the village of Katwa. There, on a pretext of receiving the sannyas mantra from Sri Keshava Bharati, Mahaprabhu first blessed him by reciting the mantra in his ear, and then hearing that same mantra from him and accepting the monk's staff, the Tridanda, or the Danda, Ekadanda. Shuddha Saraswati appeared on Keshava Bharati's tongue and manifested through him the name of Mahaprabhu's sannyas pastimes, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, for he would rouse the consciousness of the unconscious world through Krishna Kirtan. As per Mahaprabhu's orders, Chandrasekhar Acharya Ratna helped him perform all the necessary rites and tasks of sannyas. Amid many devotees who were weeping in separation and performing kirtan throughout the day, Mahaprabhu's shaving was finally completed toward the end of that day. The next day, in the morning, Mahaprabhu began roaming throughout Radhadesh while singing the tale of the Tridandi mendicant from the city of Avanti, as described in Bhagavata. To be continued. And that's the end of Śrī Māyāpura Pūrṇa-candrodaya. After this, it's known as Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Ah, okay. Neat. So it's, yeah. Wait, Chaitanya Bhagavat, that's, yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I think it's from Chaitanya.
So then it's Antikanda beginning.
What's that? Antya or Mandya, isn't it?
Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's Madhya, and I think Chaitanya Bhagavat's Antya.
Oh, okay. This next article, it says that it's supposed to be continued, but so far I haven't found the next part. So it's just a one-off. It's one of my favorites, actually. Vallabha's Digvijay, all-directional conquering. Offering obeisance at the feet of the Srimad Acharya, Goswami Sri Yadunathaji is describing his Gurudev's Digvijay story. So I think this is from something about Sri Vallabhacharya, but it goes earlier. It was before his time, his ancestry. Where pious souls of pure vision who keenly observe their religious and social duties as per their caste and station in life, where there are many exalted personalities who are worshipped even by the demigods, and where there are many supremely sanctified holy places, where it is simply very charming and beautiful, a land where pious persons take their birth, a land that is protected by the cardinal direction guardian Maharshi Agastya. In that southern region, near Stambhandri, there was a very prosperous town renowned by the name of Kakumbakara. That place was very well protected, so there was no reason to fear anything. There lived many dignified noble Brahmins who were adepts in the Uttar and Purva Mimamsa schools and were very dear to Bhagavan. Here, like the pearl fruits of the glory of Maharshi Bharadwaja's dynasty, were many Belanadu Bhatta Tripravara Brahmins who were deeply introspective and scholarly, having studied many branches of the Taittiriya. Their family deity was Renuka. These Vipras would follow strict vows of brahmacharya celibacy and satisfy their gurus with incessant menial service, and by the grace of their gurus, they would become endowed with boundless intellectual brilliance. This was a lineage of Vipras who were worthy of worship via one's own conduct as approved by one's mother, father, and one's holy teachers. In this lineage, in the family of Acharya Vallabha Dikshit, was a person named Yagya Narayana Dikshit, who was the disciple of Vedavatar Śrī Govinda Acharya, who was the second self of Śrī Rishi Vedavyas. In his childhood, Yagya Narayana Dikshit studied all the Vedic scriptures and was initiated as befitting a Brahman. Thereafter, he obtained the hand of a very gentle-natured young lady named Narmada, who was the daughter of Devapur resident Sudharma Sharma of the Atri lineage. Before the sacred fire, according to the traditions of the Prajapatis, he accepted her as his Ardangini, other half. This finest of Brahmanas would, as per his prescribed Varnashram duties, worship any uninvited guests who chanced by his home. In this way, serving various guests, one day he came face to face with a Param Bhagavat devotee from the Dravida region named Vishnu Swami. As is customary with guests, when the finest of Bhagavats, Vishnu Swami, appeared at Yajna-Narayan's home, Yajna-Narayan humbly greeted and worshipped him. After eating, as Vishnu Swami was sitting contentedly, Yajna-Narayan asked to know who he was. Vishnu Swami conveyed to him that he had taken the renounced order because of the propagation of a text called Bhakti Mimamsa. And Vishnu Swami also told him that he had written a commentary on the text Bhakti Mimamsa called Bhakti Ullasani. Hearing this, Yajna-Narayan humbly asked to receive this Bhakti Dharma. After obtaining the Sri Gopal mantra and the Amnai Parampara, or sacred, unbroken spiritual lineage of Vishnu Swami, Bilvamangal, and Divodas, he began worshipping his family deity with great love, according to Shrota and Smarta, Vedic and Pancharatric traditions. Every year, he would perform 5 different yagas, fire sacrifices, from the Agnihotra to the Soma Yaga. Once, while offering the Soma offering into the fire of the Soma Yaga, he became overwhelmed with the bliss of his worship and was meditating on Bhagavan Vasudev within the fire. And because of his intense faith, his heart became very pure. They say that when we're doing archan, we should always be in a state of ananda, of bliss. You should always be happy. You shouldn't be doing archan when you're miserable, depressed, angry. So he was overwhelmed with bliss at his worship. He was doing this so regulatedly, always. And then he'd receive Vaishnavi Diksha. And then one day, as he was meditating, he saw that Bhagavan Sri Yajna-Narayan had appeared there with a smile on his face and beautiful lotus eyes, wearing yellow garments all over his extremely attractive figure and displaying the Abhaya Mudra, gesture of fearlessness. I think that's just like this. As soon as he saw Bhagavan, he became overwhelmed with emotion and offered his obeisance in great delight. There he remained prostrate on the ground. Gradually, he came to his senses and raised himself, and with folded hands began to say, "O Bhagavan, all the Agam and Nigam texts sing of your glories. You are the burgeoning of all auspicious qualities. You are the controller of demigods, Brahmins, mantra, all performers of action, action itself and its ingredients. And you are the bestower of desired results. And because of your love for your devotees, and because your love for your devotees is natural, you manifest your form, which is the abode of all auspicious qualities, to those who meditate upon you. All those exalted personalities showed their mercy to me. That is why you have blessed this Deva Yajna and become visible to someone like me, to my eyes bleary with the smoke of the sacred fire. With which articles shall I worship you, the husband of Lakshmi? Though this is true, you are satisfied with the easily obtained and mentally offered items like leaves, flowers, sprigs, and earrings that your devotees worship you with. Though this is true. I feel like I'm missing something there. Otherwise, even if you do not receive articles of worship, you naturally come under the control of your devotees. Therefore, it is possible I too can worship you with such beautiful offerings of mood. Saying this, Yajna-Narayan worshipped Bhagavan. And it says to be continued, but I haven't found the continuation yet. Maybe it'll come up later.
Wow, so this is Vallabhacharya's, like, his great like, oh no, it's coming in his line or his family. It's his family, right? So
I
it's
think
like
it's
great grandfather.
Yeah, so he was initiated or born into a family that was initiated by Vishnu Swami.
Okay, so this wasn't during Vishnu Swami's time. This is
No,
after.
no, this is during
I
Vishnu
thought it
Swami's
was.
time.
That's what I thought.
But
And Vishnu
yeah,
Swami,
but this is his great it's one of his ancestors. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Vishnu Swami, like, scholars say it's like around the sometime in the 13th century. So it's like, what is
Vishnu
that?
Swami's time.
Mahaprabhu? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And so this is like what, like a couple hundred years before Mahaprabhu's time?
Well,
Or
that's
like
interesting.
300 years?
So I thought Vishnu Swami was older than that. Predated. Because Madhvacharya is 12th century. I thought Vishnu Swami predated him. Anyways, interesting. Niryan Sambad, news of departure. This past 13th of March, Tuesday, at 6:10 p.m., one of the Calcutta Gaudiya Math's one-pointed servants of Guru Gauranga, Shripad Sanatan Das Brahmachari, departed to his eternal abode. His incomparable conviction in service was witnessed during this past Sri Dham Parikrama. For several months now, he had given up all attachment to material life and had devoted himself wholeheartedly at the feet of Sri Guru. All the devotees in the much are feeling separation from him upon his untimely departure. Is it just me, or is it like the mention of Acharya Ratna twice, and then this, and then the Citraketu story is all like very
I
synchronistic?
was thinking exactly the same thing. Yeah. Totally.
Bhagavan's pastimes are wondrous, and we're serving the Shabda Brahm, so of course these things happen.
Yes. Yes. It's not a
Now,
coincidence.
yes, no coincidences. Now for the news. Nana Katha, various topics. This year, the mango crop in Bengal is so huge that if even only 1/4 remains, even the cows and other animals won't need to eat anything else for up to 2 months. Murshidabad is mango country, and there is a terrible famine going on there. Now that there is a surplus of mangoes, the poor can survive somehow or other on mangoes and alleviate their hunger for some time.
That's a nice image of cows eating lots of mangoes.
Just pickles of mangoes.
Just live off of mangoes. Get lots of boils from mangoes. Okay.
Readers are all familiar with the difficulties people are having with the crossing back and forth via the local Navadvip ferry ghat. Now we have received news of similar inconveniences at Berampur's Radhar Ghat ferry ghat. There is no regular ferry service at this ghat, and crossing is closed at night. When people need to go to the railway station, they end up having to use dinghy boats to cross the river. That must have been terrifying. For this, travelers have to pay twice or thrice the normal rate.
What is a dinghy boat?
I'm like assuming like an inflatable rubber boat of some sort. They had that kind of thing, or maybe something else.
Dinghy sounds pretty flimsy. Yeah, okay.
For this, travelers have to pay twice or thrice the normal rate. Administration needs to
Or
pay
it's like a little wooden.
twice. Little wooden. Yeah, would have been wood. Probably not plastic. Administration needs to pay special attention to issues like this. Unsuitable lessees should be expelled from the ghats, which should then be allotted to competent, suitable lessees, so these inconveniences will cease. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. But the people who are leasing the ghat. The Acharya of Vrindavan's Prema Mahavidyalaya, A.T. Gidvani, has bid farewell to Prema Mahavidyalaya and accepted a job in the Karachi Municipal Education Department. The Prince of Bardhaman, Shriyukta Uday Chand Mahatapa, will travel by the Imperial Mail to Bombay to go to England. Bagherhat rail station master was terribly injured by 3 assailants as he returned home. Police are investigating. The culprits have yet to be apprehended. There's been a rally in Madras organized by the Hindu Mahasabha denouncing Dr. Mathulakshmi and Hari Vilas Sardar's child marriage bill, as opposed to Hindu Dharma and scripture. A representative of the Hindu Mahasabha will be sent to meet with the governor and governor general to prevent the passing of this bill. There's more about that in a later issue.
So it's to allow child marriages.
They're amending it. Yeah. I think they're increasing it to minimum legal age of 18 for the male, 16 for the female.
Okay.
Last Wednesday in Charparagram, which falls under the jurisdiction of the Chattogram Faridganj station, Amdur Ali and Darvesh Ali ate at the home of Kamaraddi Bepari and came down with cholera during the night. Amdur Ali died the next morning, and the other person is in Chandpur in a state of agony. They're like letting people know not to eat at this person's house, I guess.
Yeah.
Last night, Devendranath Rai Mahashaya of the Forwarders editorial division left his body. He has served the newspaper for almost 23 years. 10 female graduates of Calcutta's Nari Shiksha Samiti have passed government training and accepted work in various places as teachers. The governor of Bengal, this is the state of, yeah, that was newsworthy at that time.
Yeah, 10 female graduates right now. So it's the beginning.
No. The governor of Bengal has inaugurated the Dinajpur Ruiya branch of the IB railway, which is 46 miles long. It took 10 months to build it. Surveying for the Ruiya-Siliguri line is to commence shortly. A notice from the India Rail Company tells us that this time 50.5 lakh pounds of cargo is needed. It is common knowledge that within a few months, the order will go for sale in England and Scotland. Now, this is, I think, talking about the cotton that was being shipped to England and then shipped back, processed there and then shipped back. And that's why they were boycotting English textiles, because they were being charged.
Mm-hmm.
From former principal of Lahore National College, Shriyuta Yugal Kishore Acharya, has been engaged as the principal of Vrindavan's Prema Mahavidyalaya in the place of Gidvani. The Karachi Municipal Assembly reports that Professor Gidvani has been engaged as the administrator of the education department there. In Brazil, in the middle of the night, a mountain gave way in a huge avalanche, crushing the inhabitants of the town of Santos, Sao Paulo, as they slept. On the night of March 1st, Shri Digvijay Prithvi Singh, son-in-law of the King of Nepal, gave a speech on the propagation of universal brotherhood at Bangalore town's Jai Mahal. He said, "We will be able to establish the propagation of this universal brotherhood more widely if we conquer pleasure and indulgence with renunciation. The less fortunate should not be excluded from humanity." A white landholder in the Shevaroy Hills has been arrested according to Section 335 of the Indian Penal Code for shooting a coolie. Madras has two new ministers by the names Mr. H. Muthia Mudaliar and Mr. B. Ramchandra Reddy. Two students of Dhaka Medical School have brought charges of libel against the editor and printer of the East Bengal Times. The governor of Madras has forced Minister Ranganath Mudaliar and Arogya Swami Mudaliar to leave their positions. On March 12th, there was a huge rally in opposition to this at Gokhale Hall. Many distinguished individuals delivered speeches at this gathering to cement the resolve to boycott the commission. That's the Simon Commission.
What's the Simon Commission?
It was a delegation of officials from England who were on a trip to India. And so the independence movement was really getting going by that time, and wherever they showed up, there's reports of how like huge crowds of people were just protesting their presence in India as administrators of the country.
Okay.
Yeah. Manbhum district Zamindar Shriyukta Indranarayan Chandra has donated 5,000 taka to build a dharmashala in Prachi Navadip, Śrī Māyāpura, the site of Sriman Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Dev's appearance. Chirkunda Shriyukta Dinanath Garai, Rajgand resident Shriyukta Charuchandra Pal, and Bankura resident Shriyukta Hariprasad Bandyopadhyay have garnered the gratitude of the devotees by shouldering the expense of constructing 3 different permanent structures adjoining Sri Chaitanya Mat to accommodate pilgrims. We request everyone in general to follow the hugely generous example of these aforementioned donors. These donors, big-hearted religious souls that they are, have demonstrated a brilliant example of how best to utilize one's wealth. Last Thursday, in the Sandweep division of Noakhali district, an extremely elderly person clutching a walking stick, trembling as he approached, came into Munsef court and said, "I'm 120 years old and I've never seen a doctor. Now I am coming to see a doctor because I want to know when I will die."
Oh my God. It's such an interesting story.
When a person showed him to a doctor, the elderly man got down on the ground, bowed down with devotion, and left. I don't know what to make of this. Like he wanted to see a doctor before he died because he never needed a doctor, or
Yeah, that's interesting. Wanted to have that experience. I don't know.
currently, the boycott movement against foreign goods is gaining significant traction. Observing the manner in which it is happening, it seems that the leadership of the country will be very successful. Our only prayer is that with the demand for clothing, the owners of national mills will not take advantage of the situation to hike the price of clothing to make extra money. Manmat Nath Mukhopadhyay, the commissioner of the Behrampur municipality, has resigned from his position after a signed petition full of complaints against him was filed. Police have rescued 2 minor girls named Shakuntala and Monu from a brothel in Boro Bazaar on Shiv Thakur Lane in Calcutta. Last Sunday, At Minerva Theatre, a pickpocket named Ganesh Pandey snuck into the ladies' sitting area and was caught as he fled after stealing jewelry right off a girl's body. Mr. Parcell and Mr. Holsworth, representatives of the British Trade Union Congress, and Mr. Fanner Brockway, Secretary of the Independent Labour Party, will travel from Bombay to England on the Rajmaka ship on March 17th. As a result of the several days of street sweeper strikes in Calcutta, again, garbage has rotted in many places and contaminated the air. This has led to many contagious illnesses throughout Calcutta. Authorities of the health department need to be paying special attention to this issue. Mr. Brett, the manager of the Manbada tea farm, has been attacked by coolies. An incident occurred on February 25th when Mr. Sahib ordered a 14-year-old boy servant to do some work. When the boy refused to do it, the white plantation manager beat him mercilessly across the chest with a piece of wood. Inhumanly brutalized, the servant fell unconscious. He was sent to the hospital in that condition. He has no one except one brother. All the coolies were outraged with Mr. Sahib's abusive behavior and vowed to exact just retribution. The next day, when the Sahib was on his way to the factory, they attacked him. Several other employees of the plantation came and somehow rescued the Sahib Bahadur from the hands of the enraged coolies. It seems police have still not been made aware of the incident because the injured servant is still laying in hospital now with severe injuries all over his body.
How does the police not aware of the situation when it's published in the Dainika Nadīyā Prakāśa?
I guess they're
like a jab.
pushing it to harm them, yeah. This news section seems longer than usual. Factory fire incident. On the night of March 12th at 7 o'clock, a fire broke out in Sri Harendranath Sarkar's jute godown in Konagar, burning 700 mods of jute to ashes. The fire did not spread any further. Place of Kali on Dola grounds. On the 23rd of Falgun, Sunday, during the Pancham Dol at Shantipur in Gopalpur, a clash erupted between Hindus and Muslims over a game of dice. There was a gambling den on the Dol grounds. An argument ensued between a Hindu player and a Muslim of similar temperament. Suddenly, another Muslim, under the influence, allegedly attacked the Hindu without reason. This led to a clash between the two groups. Reportedly, 4 Muslims and 1 Hindu have been seriously injured. Kali has entered even the Dol grounds. The result that was to be expected has happened. Kali. Situation in Egypt. In regard to the current situation in Egypt, Lord Laird and King David have consulted each other for almost an hour. There is still conflict going on surrounding the next prime minister. Workers in Lilua are still not calm. If the railway authorities try to intimidate them, they could become agitated and escalate the conflict. The labor union members are trying diligently to keep the peace. The situation at City College is becoming more serious day by day. The college authorities have sought the assistance of police against the students of the Ram Mohan Roy hostel. Police have told them to inform student representatives. The students are becoming more agitated. The educational system that does not have service to Bhagavan as its objective is not Vidya, but Avidya, ignorance. Avidya always creates numerous disturbances. A riot that occurred in Shrirampoor near Rishra last Monday has resulted in 3 Hindus and 2 Muslims injured. The Hindus at the Rishra jute mill asked the manager to close the mill on Tuesday so they could participate in the holy festivities. The Muslims opposed the closure of the mill, and so a riot broke out. Armed police forces were brought from 24 Parganas and Howrah to the scene to maintain order. At present, there is no significant commotion going on. Miss Miller's Shuddhi Pavilion was set up this past March 13th at a spot roughly 5 miles from Nashik on the banks of the Godavari. About 2,000 onlookers gathered to watch the proceedings. Among them were about 300 women of Hindu, Sikh, Parsi, European, and American origin. In the morning, at 8 o'clock, Miss Miller arrived at the pavilion via royal vehicle with Sir Tukoji Rao's sisters, Savitribai Sahiba, Tarabai Sahiba, and their maternal grandmother. 20 priests surrounded Miss Miller and performed Prayashchit, atonement, and Homa, fire sacrifice, after which they completed the purificatory rites, and Miss Miller was accepted as a Hindu. Miss Shanta decorated her with a dress and ornaments like that of a Maharashtrian woman. Last Tuesday night, Miss Miller Mimi, along with the royal princesses of Indore, traveled to Baroha. Her marriage is scheduled to take place there on March 17th.
Very interesting. Do you know anything about who Miss Miller is?
Yes,
Did
she's
speak about her recently?
Yeah, there's been a few mentions of this because it was kind of caused a stir. The king of Indore decided to take a second wife, and it was this American woman from Seattle named Miss Miller. Yeah,
Nashika's Shubhananda, who's with us right now, that's his hometown. That's where he is.
Okay. Yeah. I was reading about her online. There's some
interesting
stuff about her. Yeah. It's changing times then. Well, that's it.
That's it. Okay. Another day in Sri Chaitanya Mat, the news. And it's amazing how every article, this is every single day. What we're reading once a week is just one day in the Mat. So much.
Prabhu, one thing. Oh.
Yes.
I just want to say the first story about the touchstone, about this Brahmana that the was poor and he went to Sanatana Goswami. What was the continuation of the story, and what this represent? What was the representation of the end of the story about the touchstone?
That story, there's a second part to it, and so there'll be a continuation, and then it'll explain. It'll give a conclusion to that story. It'll explain more next time. I believe it's in the very next issue.
Is this from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the story?
No, I believe it's a more recent folk tale about Sanatana Goswami. And so it's been passed down. This is the first time I've heard of it, like the specific reference. So it was someone from Bardhaman district. They mentioned the village, the name of the man. He probably still has his descendants there, and they're probably like, oh yes, our grandfather went, and our great-great-grandfather went and saw Sanatana Goswami.
Yeah.
It's far out. All right, so we have continuation, because I heard this story, but I wanted to know how they explain in the Dainika Nadīyā Prakāśa.
Yeah, this is by far like the most detailed version of the story I've heard. It like describes exactly how he got the touchstone from Sanatana Goswami and how he came back. It's because usually it's just mentioned in passing briefly, but these are the details.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, so I'll do a little, just like a very short Maha Mantra, and then we'll end our session for today. Unless anybody has anything else, like if anybody has anything else they want to mention, or any questions or anything. Okay, so
one thing, the article of this self-esteem, because I want to share with other devotees, it was from the harmonist. What was from where you took this article of the self-esteem?
Everything that we're reading from is from the Dainika Nadīyā Prakāśa. This is a daily magazine it was managed by Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. So this is all Bengali translated into English. And you can find everything on nadiyaprakash.com. I can give you the link. But yeah, this is not the harmony.
What was the date for that?
March 15th, 1928.
What was the date for that particular one we just read?
March
1928. Because the story about the story about the man who went to the doctor, he'd never seen a doctor, he was 120. I had some thought on that. That date is still the early days of the allopathic movement. It was still very much maligned in the early years of its
Okay.
development before it got gained the huge propaganda that it's got these days. So the fact that he never went to see one was probably by design, rather than, and the fact that he went there to find out when he was going to die, like that's what they're good at, killing people and telling people when they're going to die, but not much good about helping people with their health. And then I think he was so pleased that he never went there that he just felt blessed by the Lord and offered his obeisances.
Thank you for that insight. That's been puzzling me. That makes sense now. Oh my God. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Śrīvāsa, would you like to do Jayadwani?
Sure. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Govinda Gopinath Madam Mohan Shri Radha Vinamdhari Radha Raman Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Bhavan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Trivikram Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj Ki Jai. Prabhushtam Shri Srimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Dait Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Prabhushtam Vishnupa Shri Srimad Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Saparshad Jai Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. महाभागवत प्रवर श्री गौर किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। सप्तम गोस्वामी सच्चिदानंद शिला भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। गौरी वेदांत आचार्य श्री बलदेव विद्याभूषण प्रभु की जय। श्री विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय। नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्रय की जय। श्री कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रमनंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गो गोवर्धन द्वारमना शिवमंडल धाम की जय। राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज विमल गंगा भक्ति तुलसी देवी की जय। सर्वभिष्ट प्रदाता श्री गिरिराज महाराज की जय। सर्व विघ्न विनाशकारी श्री नृसिंह भगवान की जय। भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। चारि धाम चारि आचार्य चारि संप्रदाय की जय। आकर्मशा श्री चैतन्य मठ की जय। श्री दैनिक नदिया प्रकाश की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत ऑनलाइन जूम लाइन डिवोटीज की जय। हरे कृष्णा। Vanchakapatrupistra kripa sindhu jayapati pranamavani o Vaishnavi.
Dandavat pranams. So if anybody wants to access, I'm just mentioning again, if anybody wants to have access to any of these articles, you can find them all on nadiyaprakāsh.com. And also, I highly recommend, if anybody here hasn't done so already, go over to Śrīvāsa's website, bigdrum.us, and you can subscribe there. And Śrīvāsa is always translating all sorts of amazing things from our acharyas, especially our recent acharyas, but so many different things.
Yes, we have new articles from Gurudev from the early 50s, early articles, his early writings. And we might start doing a reading of those soon.
Yes, I forgot about that. So, just last night, Śrīvāsa and I were discussing. We haven't made any like solid plan yet, but we're thinking of every Amavasya, which is like our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. He appeared on Moni Amavasya, so we thought Amavasya would be an appropriate titi to go through the original articles that he wrote, like all the articles he wrote from the very beginning, starting from the 1950s, you said?
Yeah, 1950, when Gaudiya Patrika started, up till 1974, when there was kind of a break, a Bhagavat Patrika, but he kept publishing in Gaudiya Patrika. So far, we've got about 50 articles translated and mostly edited. So that's just the first portion of like 8 articles, and then there'll be a larger section coming soon. And so yeah, Gurudev's, you can see the development of his style. His voice kind of develops. He starts with preaching reports and transcribing his Gurudev's classes, and then he goes on to more like lengthy articles. So it's interesting for us as disciples to see.
Yeah, wow. And Amavasya is in 2 weeks, 6 days from now. So yeah, cool. Maybe I'll make an announcement for that, and then we can start that. That would be really great. All right. Oh, and I'm just looking here, just looking at the comments very quickly here on YouTube and Facebook. Let's just see who's there. Amal Krishnaru, Vidyalalasa Didi, Krishna Premavati Didi, Champak Mataji, Amit Dandekar, Narayani Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Vrinda Didi, and Kokil Prabhu just wrote, sad news, Acharya Ratna Prabhu has left body. Yes, Kokil Prabhu, we were just, in the beginning we discussed, like we spoke a little something of him, and all throughout this article there have been like little, very relevant things to do with Acharya Ratna Prabhu. So yeah, all glories to Acharya Ratna Maharaj Ki Jai. And all right, and here on Zoom, Dandavat Pranam, Śrīvāsa Prabhu, Sarveshwari Mataji, Ashray Prabhu, Shubhananda Prabhu, Satya Mataji, Krishna Mai Didi, Shri Devi Didi, Indira Mataji, Anjali Didi, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, and I'm just looking at the comments here. 1 second, there is 1 second. Okay, Satya Mataji said that this mention of death is also for us who are listening. She said that my brother passed away recently, and these stories are quite comforting. So I'm sorry about your brother. I'm happy that these could be, that these were comforting. But and he's lucky to have a devotee sister like you. So yeah. All right. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Let's see you all tomorrow. I think tomorrow we'll continue the Bhakti Vinod Kiti Dhara program. And then I think coming up very soon is Nrsimha Chaturdashi. When is that? Okay. Oh, no, we're going to have the next Raise of the Harmonist Ishtagoshti session. We're going to have that on the day after tomorrow. Then the day after that is, so that's on Tuesday, 21st, Tuesday. And then the day after that is Nrsimha Chaturdashi. And the day after that is the appearance day of Madhavendra Puri, of Srinivasa Acharya, of Shri Parameshwari Thakur. It's Buddha Purnima. I also think it's the appearance of Radha Raman. And so that's a big day. Yeah, it's all coming up. So lots of festivals. All right. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.